Hello, this podcast is recorded on Gadigal country and we pay our respects to the First Nations custodians of the land, both here and also wherever you're listening from. Hi.
Hi.
You know how sometimes, I know we say this often.
Do we?
We do.
Maybe you say it often and you've just universalised the experience.
Funny you use the word universalised because I was about to say how the universe bowls up stuff to us and it's on the same theme and you're like, why does the universe keep bowling me up this theme? And it's like, I just watched a TV show about this. Oh my God, the book I'm reading turns out to be about this. And it's
There can't be a global algorithm, can there, that just dictates all creative output?
It's so weird because I just find this happens to me periodically where I'm just reading along the same thing. So two things that I happened to pick up.
Yeah.
I was visiting my friend Sabra Lane and she had this book sitting
Clang.
there. Or I raised something and she said, oh, you should read this book. And it was a book called The Other Significant Others by this woman called Raina Cohen. And
I have heard that name. Mm-hmm.
it's a non-fiction book. It's a polemic. So I kept, you know what I'm like, I kept being like, but what about this? But what about that and saying holes? She's making a case. She's making a case for, her question is, why have we put romantic relationships at the centre of life as the most important relationship? And she's making a case for friendship should be more important. And the book is structured kind of like, it's first person and she's talking about this particular friendship in her life which has been very, very important, which she sees as kind of the central relationship of her life. But what she's done is it's structured pretty much with, there's a couple in their 20s of friends, 30s, 40s, 50s, and then each chapter is kind of a next decade and she has a particular friendship between two people that she profiles.
Right.
Now, she's pretty much making the case, it's kind of very interesting because one of the points she raises is that close friends don't have the same legal rights as a married couple. So if you get to your 70s or 80s, and there's this one couple actually that's fascinating where they're two women who one of them I think had always been single or relationships had come and gone, and the other one was a woman who was married with a couple of kids and then her husband left or she split or something. They lived near each other in whatever American city it was. The woman who was kind of the friend or the neighbour ended up pretty much helping to raise the kids and they were just very, very tight and close. And then the woman with the kids when they were grown up, she ended up, one of the kids tragically died, but the other one lived in a different city and the mum decided, you know, I'm getting old, I need to go and live near my son in case I need some help. She's moved there and then she said, and, you know, the friend's a bit lonely and she's like, well, you should come and live up here. And so she's like, yeah, right. So she starts looking for a house. They can't really find one. So they end up like, well, we should just live together. So they then live together and they, at the point of writing, they've lived together for maybe 10 years. Very enmeshed, like sisters really. Anyway, one of them has a turn and has to go to hospital. But then when the other woman gets there, she ends up having to wait in the car park because she's not a family member. Yeah. She's not the partner. She's not a wife. And so it then talks about how, you know, various and makes quite a persuasive case that, well, why is it set up like that? So, for example, sometimes somebody's sibling might be their closest relationship or their parent might have remained. They might have lived with their parent all their life. Anyway, so she kind of lays all this out. It was a very interesting book, but I kept wondering why.
You just don't like polemics.
I don't like polemics.
Your little brow just furrows.
I immediately.
Your nostrils flare.
Totally.
You're like,
You're not looking at it from all angles here, are you? So she's kind of, like I certainly have, I share some of the issues about, you know, obviously marriages and expecting a marriage to be the solution to all of your life's needs is a problem. But then I kind of felt like the model she was proposing was, aren't you just going to create the same problems, but now it's with your friend instead of your romantic
I'm not moving
partner?
in with you, if that's what you're asking.
In the younger relationships too, I often felt like it was a case of a friend who was somewhat controlling or needy. Whereas in the older ones, it made much more sense that the friend was, because it had stood the test of time.
So hang on, is she arguing that that friendships as major relationships should be prioritized over romantic relationships?
Yeah, and so I'll tell you one of the bits of it that I struggled with, even though I was trying to be open-minded, was this couple in their 20s, two dudes who lived together. one of them's practice was when he was dating a woman was to go like, okay, so let's pretend it's me and you, right?
Okay.
We live together.
Go, bro.
As besties.
Oh,
and
sorry.
then I'm dating.
Am I a man in this situation?
You're you and
Oh,
I'm
okay.
me, okay?
That
But we
does
live together.
feel more simple,
And
yeah.
we've had a conversation where we go, you're the most important relationship in my life as my best friend. And then I start dating Barry.
Okay.
So in
I
this
hate Barry
scenario,
already.
What,
Barry
in this scenario,
comes in here, leaves the toilet seat up. What does he think? I'm going to clean up with him? I'm not having sex with this man. He's your Barry. You can pick up after him.
in this scenario with Barry, what happens is I go out on a date with Barry and I say, hey, Barry, you seem like a great guy and I'd really like us to keep seeing each other. Just letting you know that the central person in my life is Annabelle, who I live with. But she's just my best friend, but she is my number one. You'll always
Back
be
off,
my number
Barry.
two. So that's what these dudes, how they practiced their relationship was.
Okay.
They would say to their romantic interest, you're my romantic interest, but my most important person is my best friend.
And is this on their Tinder profile?
Well, I don't know, but if I started seeing a dude and he said, "Hey, Salesy, you seem great," well, firstly, that would be a red flag, wouldn't it? The use of Salesy.
Yeah.
But,
I think you'd love that, actually. You'd be like, I'm off the hook for managing your emotional kind of
it doesn't seem very
requirements.
romantic, though, does it, from a life partner? If he said, "Hey, Lee, you seem like a great chick. I really, really like you, but I just wanted to let you know, Jason, who I live with, he's my main dude. And so, you know, me and Jason are non-negotiable, so you'd have to fit with that. Jason's always going to be living with me." I think I'd say, okay, see you later, bro.
Yeah, when you put it like that,
And so there was the next one chapter.
it
which
feels like
was,
the formalizing is the problem.
it's the formalizing, I think, yeah, but
Because
then,
I mean, if you're saying, look, sorry, who's the guy? Jason? Jason.
I've lost track, Barry, Jason,
But
I've
like,
lost track.
if you've formalized it to the extent like you've agreed between yourselves that no other relationship that you subsequently form will ever. I mean, that just sounds like a marriage.
It's a marriage without sex,
Yeah.
basically. And so then I just felt like, well, then don't you just have all the exact same problems that would be creeping into a
course.
marriage? So I couldn't quite understand the argument there. But where I could see the benefit was the hindsight realization of people in their 60s or 70s or whatever that, wow, turns out, you know, I've been married a couple of times or, you know, I haven't been or whatever. It turns out the person that's been the most constant relationship in my life has been, you know, my oldest best friend or whatever.
Like that beautiful film with Jodie Foster and
Oh, that was amazing.
Annette
Nyad.
Bening.
Yeah,
Nyad.
absolutely.
God, you're good at
fantastic.
remembering the names of things. I would have gone. Oh, it sounds like something to do with like an elf or some sort of like
No, I just
mythical
remembered it 'cause I
kind of
loved it so
Nyad.
much.
But that was like there's this amazing scene in that where, you know, Annette Bening, who's this sort of long distance swimmer who's failed to swim to Cuba, and says to Jodie Foster, you know, well, look, I'm looking back across my life, you know, I've had all these relationships and stuff, but the main one that I've really had that's really worked is you.
Yeah, it's kind of like that. But I feel like as a young person, shackling yourself to that is somewhat tricky because, as we know, not all friendships do stand the test of time. But then I guess the author would probably say to me, yeah, well, same with marriage. So anyway, look, it was a very absorbing, interesting read, but I just kept...
By the end of it, you're like...
I was like... Anyway, but then at the same time I was reading that, there's a television show that has been recommended to me by a handful of people, and I've kept thinking, oh, I must watch that. And
Just a
haven't got around to it.
handful. I like that. Not one person. Not everybody I know is watching this. A handful.
It is called Somebody Somewhere. It's on Binge.
I've heard of this.
Yeah. And you, I think, will really like it.
I think a handful of people mentioned it to me too. I haven't actioned it as
So
swiftly as you have.
between us, we've had a full egg carton of people have recommended
I
it.
think they might be the same people actually.
Could be.
Yeah.
It's the kind of show we like. It reminded me a little bit of Better Things in that it's a show where it's built around the relationships. Not that much happens plot-wise. It's just kind of observed, you know, stuff.
So what are the relationships?
Okay, so it's built mostly around this woman called Sam. It's set in the US Midwest in Kansas. She's a woman who is a bit down and somewhat prickly as a human. She's down because she's got two sisters. One of them died, and she really was very close to her, and she feels a bit lost since her sister died. She happens to run into this guy who she went to school with. You know, they're about in their 50s. She went to school with, Joel, and Joel is a really outgoing, lovely, emotionally intelligent gay guy who runs the choir at the local church. And so he invites her to come. He remembers she's a great singer from school. He invites her to come to choir. And so then they basically develop this super, super tight friendship. And then they've got this kind of little friendship group around them of wonderful characters. And they kind of have, I guess they have, there's a character in it who I love, who's my favourite, actually, called Fred, who's a trans man. And Fred talks about they've kind of chosen this particular family. It's like a chosen family. Anyway, there's this bit that's done so brilliantly where, so Sam's a kind of slightly depressive, prickly, awkward chick prone to, when friends don't meet her, kind of somewhat difficult expectations or people, chops them and just gets cold and chilly. Joel ends up getting a boyfriend, and Sam then gives Joel the cold treatment, basically, because
so it's piss off Barry.
So she's a bit defensive of like, well, I guess now, you know, you're not my person kind of thing. But it's so beautifully kind of handled. And I felt like I've definitely known people like Sam with that personality type where they're people that I feel like you have to be a bit on eggshells around. But I've never seen it captured on screen so amazingly. Like good people, decent people, lovely people, but they have this kind of slight, I think it's a insecurity thing or something where it's like they feel unlovable, and so then you know they have a certain harshness to them or something. It's really hard to explain.
It's that sort of prickliness that sometimes people develop as the result of serial unfairness over their lives, where you know that
they've been hurt a lot.
Yeah, and not necessarily because of fault on their part, but just sometimes the way the universe just absolutely kicks you in the face.
Yeah, totally, exactly right. But they've captured that so beautifully. Anyway, it's a beautifully done, really sensitive, funny, just excellent show.
And funny. So funny.
It can be funny,
I love funny spiky. It's my favourite thing. And I think better things like that. Breeders, which we've both now been obsessed with, is like that. And this sounds like that too. I've written it down to actually...
You'll enjoy it.
Yeah, I bet I will. One thing that knowing that, you know, this is sort of heading into summer, if you're looking for a book to read that just gives you a little bit of serial flashes of joy and is easy to read, I have been reading a book called Get Me Through the Next 5 Minutes by a writer called James Parker, who we met recently when he was in Australia. Absolutely lovely chap. But he writes for The Atlantic. He's a long-term staff writer for The Atlantic. And has for a long time been writing these little bits of writing that are called odes. And they're odes to sort of really ridiculous little
odes
things.
To microphones, or
odes to being
to
a middle-aged man in a band. And he's such a glorious writer, funny, and kind of, he's really a major poetry fan, and you can tell from the way that he uses tone and pace. But there's just these little bite-sized, random odes that are full of joy and generosity, and sort of, you can tell through the writing, you know, like he's went to an English boarding school and, you know, had a rough time there. He's had sort of anxiety and stuff through his life, but he's one of those people, you know, like Richard Glover, for instance, who is able to write about life with this kind of very, very articulate puppy-like enthusiasm, right?
Yeah.
So like a puppy who can really write is the vibe, and it's just full of joy. He's also just started writing, so it's called Get Me Through the Next 5 Minutes. That's the book of odes and collection, but he's just started writing an advice column for The Atlantic, which is also a lovely read. So
I'm just trying to. I was hoping you were going to. For once, I was hoping you were going to talk for longer.
Oh no, I can talk a bit more.
No.
He wrote this great advice column that was like from a lady.
That's the one.
Who was a Democrats voter who wrote in saying, "I love my husband. He's fantastic. The sex is great. We make each other laugh, but he's a Trump voter and I'm not. You know, should I be more hatey about him?" And the reply is the most generous, lovely, wise. Anyway,
it was incredible. In fact, that's what I was trying to get, and then I've realised my iPad, not my iPhone, is logged into Atlantic account,
I
which is
can't
really
find
annoying.
which device this is
But
on. I mean, like, that's
she's
stupid.
done a big
Why can't I just now go in a FaceTime and shoot up your nose? And
I don't want to have to log in.
course.
Anyway, I was looking for the last line of the reply, actually,
Right.
but the opening is, because she's like, how can I stay with my partner who's the Trump voter? And the opening is, this is easy. Enjoy your Trumper. Embrace him. Cherish him. Show him how it's done. Get your arms all the way around his Trumpiness, around all of its spikes and obduracies, and watch it dissolve in rolling billows of heavenly generosity. But it kind of ends with a slight little sting in the tail where he pretty much says you should check yourself, like examine your own attitudes, that you feel like that you want to kind of judge someone who you actually say is a great person over this particular issue. Anyway, however he explains it, it's much better said than how I said it. But
the much funnier element of this, of course, is that how did you find out about the writing
hilarious.
of James Parker?
So we've gone to the pub with a heap of mates, and I've mentioned this particular
and James
thing.
is there, right?
James
We've
is
met
there.
him in real life. He's lovely.
And so I've said, really loved that piece of writing that you did. It was fantastic. I loved it so much I flicked it straight across to Crabb, and she's gone, how dare you? I'm the one who sent it to you. And then I'm like, oh, well, I can't I'm pretty sure I sent it to you. I can't remember. Anyway,
She's so absolutely convinced that she independently located this man, this writer, and put me onto him. She just would not back down on my dude.
Because she never deletes anything. She just pulls her phone up and goes through it and finds the actual proof of her sending me the column.
You'll really enjoy this. This guy's a really funny writer. I'm reading his book. Plus, he's just started an advice column, and I know how obsessed you are with advice
I love
columns,
advice
so
columns.
you'll enjoy this. This is my gift to you. You're welcome. And she writes back and says, oh, this is amazing. I love it. I love it so much. Thank you. Which
then-
in her memory has been recorded as, I found this amazing writer and I was good
flicked it
enough
over to
to
you.
pass that along to Crabb.
Now, do you know what? I saw something the other day and I thought, even though I've now known you for nearly 20 years, I suddenly thought, oh my God, I don't know the answer to this question about you. Have you read Lord of the Rings?
Yes.
Oh, you have? Okay. Because I haven't.
All of them.
Oh, you've read all of them. Did you like them?
Yeah, I read them in like year 7 or something.
Okay.
So, yes, I did like them very much is the
Okay.
answer to that question.
Would you like them today, do you think?
Don't know. Maybe not. I don't know. I'm not really that big on elves and werewolves and stuff.
Tits.
Middle Earth. Tits and
werewolves.
werewolves.
Tits and werewolves. Again.
Interestingly enough, on the issue of James Parker, the moment when I thought, okay, I really like you, like I already liked his writing and I knew very much that I would like that person if I met them, and I did. But we were having a completely random conversation about something, and I said that I had read Watership Down as a very young person when I lived on a farm, and I thought that I could talk to rabbits after I read Watership Down. So I would, no joke, go out at dusk and...
The rabbit whisperer.
Yeah, I thought that I had picked up enough rabbit vocab from Watership Down because there is a rabbit language that is
Right.
used in Watership
read that
Down.
either.
Yeah, don't watch the movie. It's just life-endingly tragic. The book's pretty rough too because those rabbits do terrible things to each other. But I thought that I could speak with rabbits.
Oh.
And so, yeah, I would have been about 10 or 11 maybe. And then James says to me, because we're sitting in this like beer garden sort of thing and it's sunset, and he goes, yes, I guess your thoughts turn to that in this silflay time of day. And silflay is the rabbit vocab for dusk.
Oh my God.
I'm like, okay,
Wow.
all right,
Wow.
let's talk. Yeah.
Dear James, I have a friend who believes she can speak fluent rabbit. How can I carry on being friends with someone who believes such a thing?
He'll come back.
Embrace your
your rabbit. Oh, God.
Okay.
Is there anything you'll find this interesting.
Yes.
Oh, you'll find this interesting. I haven't even mentioned to you that I've watched this.
Yes.
So I have been, as you know, called up for jury duty a number of
Yes.
times recently. And I'm torn because I desperately want to be on a jury.
Oh, yeah.
Always have been.
Same.
But I can't clear enough time, and particularly since there's an election coming up. I mean, I'm just slammed at the moment.
And does the court accept that as a
Yep.
just being slammed? They'll go, okay, no worries.
Well, you have to really accumulate some evidence, and you have to, I mean, it's best, I turned up in person, But like the first one I got called up for was like a 3-month trial. I'm like, I can't.
That's going to be my dream when I'm retired.
Right.
Like that.
Well, probably you'll only be able to do it when you are retired, because when I've gone in there and seen, you know, who goes through and who gets off.
You don't reckon they would let me go through? Do you reckon they'll take one look at me and
You're
go,
so judgy, it pulses off you. They'd be like, So my daughter and I were discussing like what T-shirt I could wear to get myself just helicoptered out of there. She thought like not all men, just most men would really do it. Like,
yeah,
just one that shows that you've got firm views.
That would definitely do it.
Yeah,
for sure.
I thought just a simple defund the police would probably.
That would also do it.
Anyway, look, I'm fascinated and I would love to be on a jury. And I'm still in the pool, so I'm hoping that, you know. Anyway, you know the filmmaker Tosca Luby has made a series that's running on SBS right now called, I think it's called The Jury, Death on the Stairs.
Okay.
And here's...
Oh, yeah, I have seen something about this.
Right?
Yeah.
Here's the concept for this show. It's actually diabolically clever. Because in Australia you can't interview jury members or film inside a jury room, so it's a mystery to most people how juries work. It's not like in America where, you know, anyone who was on the OJ jury has now got an independent TV career. Just amazing. You can ask them whatever. You know, it's just, it makes zero sense to me. But so what they've done to get around this and examine how juries operate is they've taken a case that was heard by a jury. It's a Sydney manslaughter trial. They've got the transcript of the trial and they've hired actors to play the legal counsel.
What an awesome idea.
I know.
Why
shut
didn't
up.
I have this idea?
Right?
Why didn't I get cast to be on the jury? That would be so good.
I love how it's immediately about you. It's actually weirdly not about you. So, and the crime was committed like right around the corner from where you are too. So like it's like very... Anyway, so what they've done is they've got... These actors are playing the accused and the legal counsel and whatever, and they've shot it in an old courtroom, and they have basically got a casting agent, I assume, to cast 12 ordinary people, and they basically sit them through the trial as it exactly happened.
Wow.
But they have cameras inside the jury room.
Do these people know that they're not...
They do.
Okay, they know they're not watching a real trial. They know
They
they're
do.
watching a recreation.
Yeah, I think,
Okay.
they do.
Right.
And so what they've been asked to do is just approach this.
Right.
And obviously running through the entire thing is the question of, because they don't know how the original case was decided. It's not like a super famous case, right?
Right.
So they don't know what the original jury said.
Right.
And the main, and so you think your brain immediately races with questions like, wouldn't they go and Google it? Wouldn't they? But the most interesting thing is just watching how these individuals orient themselves to each other. And it's the big issues that happen straight away are not really about this guy at all, the defendant. They're about, you learn immediately what these people's prejudices are.
Oh.
Like there's this point at which like the defendant is an Asian Australian man, and one of them says, he just seems like he's not really, you know, he doesn't show a lot of emotion. And then one of the other jurors says, oh yeah, but he's Asian. Like that's like, like there's all of these assumptions about, you know, and I find it really rattling to watch actually, because there's a couple of strong personality types who immediately you could see them asserting themselves, even though they know it's for a show.
That's interesting.
So it makes me kind of think, juries, man, like.
See, what the reason I asked is, are they aware of it, is because I think something that anytime I've talked to juries about people, that people often say is, if they think they wouldn't like to be on a jury, unlike us who would love to do it, think, oh, I'd hate to have the responsibility of having to make a decision about somebody's life. But obviously, if you know you're part of a recreation, then the stakes are much lower because you're not actually...
It's interesting, though, because you can see them responding emotionally. Like some of the jurors, because of their own backgrounds, respond more. Like there's this one woman who's... Like the manslaughter case is concerns a gay couple. one of whom is found dead at the bottom of the stairs of the house they live in together. They've had an argument in the morning, and when emergency services are called, the surviving guy is hysterical, so it's sort of, did he fall down the stairs? Did he injure himself? There was sort of like kitchen equipment. Did he, there's a lot of questions. But you can see, even though they know that this is not real, you can see the jurors responding in a way that is obviously instructed by their own life's experience.
Yeah,
and anyway, it feels, even though it's a setup, incredibly prurient to be able to peer into
that sounds
a jury room.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
That's going straight to the top of the
Okay.
watch
Well,
list.
I await with interest your sort of scorching denunciation when you've seen it. But yeah,
I'll whip through these quickly. I swear, a few music little things. One is there's a doco on Disney Plus called The Music of John Williams, which is
it just comes with a handwritten letter. Dear Lee, we made this for you. You'll enjoy it.
Exactly. Oh my God, it's such a pleasure to watch, and just the scope of. I mean, you could, if you wrote Star Wars, you could just rest on your laurels for the rest of your life. But then to back it in with Raiders of the Lost Ark, or if you wrote Jaws, you'd rest on your laurels, and then that was backed in by Star Wars. My God, just the body of his work is just absolutely astonishing. And there's this one incredible bit where in the same year he wrote the theme music to Schindler's List and Jurassic Park. And both of them, I can't remember if it's Steven Spielberg or someone else, points out that the feeling both of them engender in you is awe, but the dinosaur theme, which is a really beautiful piece of music, which you'd know if you hear, I won't attempt to sing it.
Please don't.
It
is so beautiful,
it's really
right?
beautiful. And when it hits that chorus, it's kind of like something unfolding before you, and it's in the film. It's when they see dinosaurs for the first time, and it feels like awe and wonder, that music. It's extraordinary.
It does, but there's also a tiny little, and I think this is just because I'm a literalist, there's a tiny little bit of, am I that goat tied to the stake?
Oh, yeah.
You know, when they suddenly the goat's gone. You're like, oh, God.
Yeah. And then the Schindler's List music, which is a violin solo.
Thank you for giving us the visuals of violin, because podcast listeners just sometimes forget how visually a violin is played. Violin. It's like, if you're a restaurant and you get to the end and you're calling for the bill.
Yeah.
What do you do?
I just make eye contact. Just go, could I have the bill, please? I don't do that.
Because I can't help myself.
Oh, really?
And sometimes I use the paper as well. Just like, because the thing is, no one is signing anything anymore anyway. But how do you do the visual signal for can I?
Maybe these days.
And then going into that one doesn't work. But I've got plenty of. I mean, seriously, I'm not.
Maybe these days you just go.
Yeah.
I don't know.
With your yeah, maybe. But like, how did we make the transition from like papyrus to paper? Like, I mean, I'm just thinking, how far back do gestures asking for the bill go? I mean, how did you ask for the bill in Roman times?
I feel like we need a swell of St. John. Anyway, the Schindler's List theme, it's the
Sorry, back to you. Never seen that film.
It's really sad.
Never seen that film. I've never seen that film.
Wow.
Yeah, I know.
I can see why you wouldn't, because if you were in a good mood, why would you want to go into a downer by watching such a sad film? If you were in a terrible mood, why would you want to just go into the depths of despair for days? It's hard watch. It's really
It's not
hard
because
watch.
of that. I think it's just because I know it's such an incredible film.
It is.
That how like I sometimes I don't read the Booker Prize winner because I get a bit kind of like, I know it's great. I'm just...
There's a doco about Liza Minnelli coming out too. Speaking of great films that you've encouraged me to watch, Cabaret, which I took ages to watch.
You're welcome.
Anyway, the music of John Williams. He's a lovely person. There's some great bits where I think I've told this anecdote on the pod before. The theme music of Jaws, when Steven Spielberg arrives and he goes, "Yeah, okay, I've got the main theme." Ba-da, ba-da. And Spielberg's like, well,
what's the rest of it?
Can't be. What else is coming? Like, that can't be it. And it's like, well, mate, that is why it is so perfect, because we all know that can't be it and that something is coming.
Which sounds, I mean, you sound like a farting tuba, but like it, of course, creates in your mind the feeding frenzy
Oh,
of
it's it's absolutely incredible. His skill is just extraordinary, which reminds me of Quincy Jones died since we last recorded a pod. Now,
I'm
as
so
you know,
sorry. Yeah, I know. Are you okay?
Absolutely adore Quincy Jones, and so that was just I was like, oh, Quincy. I just felt like, wow, thank God that person lived. Just what. Just genius. Murph sent me this video that's doing the rounds on Instagram. I don't know if it predated Quincy Jones dying, but as Murph said, it combines.
I think you're laughing a bit too much talking about the death of Quincy Jones, who's one of your idols. I just feel like, come on, a bit of respect for Quincy.
This video, and it's. She goes, this combines your three favourite things in the world: sausage dogs, ball sports, and the music of Quincy Jones.
See, this is.
And I was like, Quincy Jones isn't even cold yet, and people are cutting sausage dogs having swimming lessons in a pool, knocking a ball around with their nose, and it's cut to the tune of Soul Bossa Nova, which is one of my favourite Quincy Jones pieces.
This feels very random. But
I'm going to show it to you when we finish recording because it was just absolutely hilarious. I can't visually describe it to be as funny as it is, but it's just cut. It's edited really well because.
Sorry, somebody has commemorated Quincy Jones's death by making this, or it's been around forever and like.
I don't think it was a special.
If you'd
Quincy
asked me
Jones.
to list, what are the things that really you could put together to make Lee Sales laugh? I reckon the death of Quincy Jones, a sausage dog in a pool with a ball, just wouldn't have even been in my top, let's say, 5 trillion responses.
I don't think someone's gone, oh, Quincy Jones died. What can I do for a tribute? I know. Get Soul Bossa Nova and put some swimming sausage dogs over it. I think it's just coincidence. But I can't rule out that it's a tribute, though. But anyway.
I can't rule out that it's a tribute. I think I can. Because that's a really shit tribute.
It's not actually. It's fantastic.
Oh my God.
Anyway, it's just kind of Soul Bossa Nova, for anyone that doesn't know it, is the theme music. The theme music to Austin Powers. So you can, it's kind of like do 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 wow do 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 wow do 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 ow. And so
Can I just get you to make an album of you just reproducing with your mouth?
Anyway, it lends itself. It's quite a comical sounding piece.
Is it? Yeah.
Which lends itself surprisingly well to vision of sausage dogs in a pool swimming with their little tails wiggling. It's just hilarious.
I wonder if they worked their way through a number of other species, subspecies of dog. Or, anyway.
On the weekend, of course I absolutely loved it. Anyway, on the weekend I was showing it to Gwen and Murph was like, are you watching that video again? I was like, I am. It's just absolute gold. Except now the algorithm, I've watched it so much. Every time I open my Instagram,
yeah,
it's
you got to look out for that.
doing crap. And it's just
Yeah.
that none of them are as good as them swimming to Quincy Jones. So
You brought it on yourself though, didn't you?
very quick other thing. Podcast called The Wonder of Stevie. It's about my favourite period of Stevie Wonder's life, musical life, in the 1970s, where he has this unbelievable creative flush of albums, and the podcast, each episode is about one particular album. If, like me, you are a massive Stevie Wonder fan. Did I say Stevie Wonder or did I say Quincy Jones?
In most podcasts, you say Stevie Wonder at some point. So,
but 70s Stevie, just absolutely extraordinary. And it's like Strong Songs. In fact, I got onto it because Kirk did a collab and ran an episode.
Kirk plays a role here.
Yeah, it's The Wonder of Stevie. If you, like me, you think the man's an absolute genius, just get onto it immediately. Whew, I am spent.
The reason that I'm looking on my phone rather than listening to you talking about Stevie Wonder, because, like, God knows, there'll be another chance. I listened to this great
Bit of Quincy Jones. Hang on. It's going to take a while to get through the intro.
Apparently we're all going to be involved while you wait for the intro to be exhausted. Good. We're all
Here
made
it
of
comes.
time around here. I thought that filming this podcast initially was a pretty crazy idea, but now I see.
I preempted the little brass stabs that are coming up in the next chapter. I mean verse.
Just for our listening audience, she's just making weird hand gestures now, pretending to be a dachshund in a pool. Oh.
Right.
Look,
Okay.
I quickly will just say, because this is a treat for anyone who's looking for a podcast that's a true crimey one. The ABC's Unravelled series has a latest episode. Its latest series is called Mr. Big, and I meant to talk about this in Melbourne, but ran out of time. This one is presented by Alicia Bridges, and it's about a Melbourne murder from 19 what year? It feels like the 90s. Can't remember. Anyway, it has. I can't really say too much about it. It's a cold case. A woman who was found dead in her burnt out home. Various guys around her who were suspects or whatever. It's about the police investigation, and there is the greatest twist that made me just gasp out loud. It's sort of like episode sort of 4 or 5-ish. So I'm like listening, I'm like, oh yeah, this is interesting. And then there's a reveal that is just completely, because I don't remember the case at all, turns my understanding of what's going on its actual head.
What's it called again?
It's called, it's the part of the ABC Unravelled series.
Unravel, yeah.
And it's called
Mr. Big. Yeah, I've seen that.
It's, it's very, very gratifying.
Excellent. Okay.
And now on this podcast, I'm just saying it's time to call for the bill, baby. We're out. There will be no tip.
Can we have a bill, please?
Service is not included. See ya.
Okay. Let's do our little
okay.
extra. So we got to do a Canberra show. Pim, if I completely spread mascara all over my face.
No, you look all right. I mean, you look medium shit.
Just show you that thing from Murph. I'm just going to get it up for you.
I mean, you know I like it because I like sausage dogs.
You do, and it's just particularly good.
Mint content. What date is actually like?
Is this it? Yeah. Oh no, that was what I sent her. One of the pieces of shit that I was. Okay, here it is.
Okay. You didn't tell me there were like 5 of them. Oh, oh, they're little floaties. Oh, good boy. Oh, good boy. Oh, I hate myself for loving this so much. Oh, the tails.
The tails. It's just gold.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Canberra show pimp.
All right.
What are we going to say?
All right, I'll start.
Do it. You do it your barrel and I'll do mine.
Lee Sales.
Annabelle Crabb.
It is 1 week until our Canberra end of year show at Llewellyn Hall on the 6th of December. And guess.
Sorry to cut you off. I don't know when Ra wants to run it, so don't say 1 week. She's not going to run it today.
Okay.
So
there are days to go.
Yeah. Exactly. Yep. Okay.
Lee Sales.
Annabelle Crabb.
Only days to go until our Christmas show at Llewellyn Hall in Canberra.
And there is a smattering of tickets.
A light smattering, I'd say. A light smattering.
Yes.
And I just wanted to show you
Yes.
how much I've already done on the 12 Days of Christmas song.
God. Oh. This means that what's going to happen is in the car on the way to the venue, I'll be given this incredibly complicated series of rhymes that I've got to somehow get my head across.
That's right.
While you bark at me and you go, no, remember, it's 5 gold rings. Make it fit that.
I'm going to make the scan especially naughty this year. Merry Christmas, love. See you there.
See you in Canberra. Just check our website, Chat 10.
Also, merch is going to be there with Gwen, like a mother load.
Yep.
So there's the presents for your awkward relatives.
See
Help
there.
sort it.
Okay, perfect. Okay, we need to do Okay, I just need to give audio. This is to introduce the Ghana episode.
Ghana.
Fell right way in as we go. Hello, Sales here. It's not just Sales.
Well, I'm here too, but I'm just here to heckle because I got nothing to contribute to this conversation apart from my admiration.
So I recently had the great pleasure of interviewing Helen Garner on stage in Melbourne, thanks to the Wheeler Centre, about her new book, The Season. And the lovely people at the Wheeler Centre and Helen very generously said that we could have a copy of the audio to use as a bonus Chat 10 episode. And given what a huge Helen Garner fan base we've got, I said, well, yes, please.
And the only thing better, really, than Lee Sales and Helen Garner talking about anything is Lee Sales and Helen Garner talking about ball sports. Am I right?
You absolutely are right. So this is the conversation that I had with Helen Garner. Thanks to the Wheeler Centre for letting us run the audio. Hope you enjoy it. It's about her new book, The Season. Great. Now, I need a shot of you looking with holding a pen to an empty page of your notebook.
Okay, so I'm going to do it like this. Perfect.
Absolutely perfect. And then we need Zanin to take one of me looking concerned. Hang on, what was it? What does she want? Me looking
Concerned with
me smiling and you looking horrified, because that's to go with the post about how I'm getting you to write some lists.
All right,
And
yeah,
so
okay.
you're like, oh, here we go, and I'm like, oh, you beauty, it's list time.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, that's fun.
Oh my god.
No, I just want some actual oxygen with me.
Oh my god, it does get so hot in here, doesn't it? I'm gonna have that song stuck in my head.
Thank you for enjoying both the oral and the visual experience of me talking to this lady here. Subscribe to our YouTube channel for so much more content. It'll probably quell your enthusiasm, but give us a go or listen on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts.
Did you ever think that we'd be telling people to subscribe to our content?
No, I did not.
We're cool at last.
Don't. You're making me look bad in front of my children. Again.